CRN WILDER with my guest, Kimberly Dvorak, and looking at her latest report here. And interesting, let me see if I can find a figure again. The United States, right? 649 billion global military spending. And of course, you're asking the question, why is America putting this much money? Is it the deep state, national security? Yeah. And then we get into migrants. So I've kind of thrown a couple of questions at you there.
Yeah, well, it kind of dovetails together in any event, because if we're talking about national security, then we're obviously going to be talking about, protecting our country from the threats of terrorism and transnational criminal organizations. And that brings us obviously to the southern border, where migrants continue to cross, out of their countries through Mexico and push themselves all the way to the southern border, where they're walking across, turning themselves in at a significant cost to the taxpayer. Money that we could probably be spending on national security had we have had a secure border in the first place.
Yeah, and some of them walking across after they get an escort with the military guards.
Yeah.
That's like a shocker.
Yeah.
But according to facts, it says the annual cost to the U.S. taxpayer, $1.8 billion. $1.8 billion over 5 years. And that financial burden skyrockets to $8.8 billion.
Yep.
And those figures are only estimates because the refugees will access welfare, other government assistance at different rates.
Yep.
The number of refugees entering the U.S. also changes from year to year. And I got to put in a personal note here. Kimberly is talking about how it changes from year to year. Yeah, I don't think it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. I think it goes up, 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 up.
Yeah, well, I think we've seen kind of an up, little bit of a plateau, if you will, and then now up, and I believe this year, maybe late last year to this year, it's going to be a straight up line, because you have to, think that the numbers, if they kind of steadily come in as they are, we're looking at probably 1.5 million illegal aliens coming into this country over and above the 1.25 million that the country already allows to come in lawfully. And this is kind of staggering. The numbers on this just absolutely are staggering. And these, again, they aren't accurate. These aren't numbers from last year, 2018, because we don't have those numbers yet. But the average cost for a refugee or a political asylum seeker, which is the Central American migrants coming up, the average cost to take care of them per year, $80,000 to take care of them. And they're getting one person, yes, per refugee.
Imagine that if you and I weren't, radio TV stars, okay, you think we could survive on $80,000 a year?
I could actually tell you, I spoke to a number of single moms and single dads out there, and you talk to a lot of people that are solidly in the middle class, and, they save their money when medical emergencies come up, they pay for it. There are millions of Americans who don't have health care. There are a number of veterans that are homeless every night in this country. And we're spending, if you just think about it, and the audacity of all of this, we're spending billions of dollars to take care of people who, for the most part, and probably 95% of them, are not being persecuted by their government. What they're seeking is a better life. And so they make the trek up to the border, they cross, turn themselves in, and disappear into the country. And this, I think, is the frustration with taxpayers out there, because they're the ones going to pick up their kids at school and seeing the nice cars that these people are driving or the designer tennis shoes that they're wearing. And it's because they're getting a lot of this free money. In California, for example, as you and I both know, they're getting a cash allowance. Not an ATM card. They're getting a cash allowance to start setting up their home in California. How many Americans would love to pick up an extra little paycheck like that to maybe get their kids braces? But in the wacky world of not controlling our borders, this is what we're doing. And if you've got to believe that some of these people are probably terrorists and transnational, part of transnational drug syndicates, and they're collecting taxpayer money. Is there any uproar within the left or with the mainstream media on this factor. I think if you're a single mom or a single dad, you're looking at this and you are outraged.
Yeah, and talking about, there are a lot hiding in plain sight. And I talked to a lot of people, and I remember whenever you were, talking about the 9/11, doing a lot of interviews. That's when it comes to you have to be very, very concerned about terrorists, and they hide in plain sight.
Yeah, they do. And there was actually a plot that was broken up in Southern California. We just got word of it. We haven't heard any of the details, but within the next hour, we'll have a press conference, and it'll be interesting to see, what this terrorist attack was and what they were planning to do against American citizens in this country. The atrocities that the American taxpayers are being held accountable for here is at the expense of the veterans, which 42,000 of those people are hungry every night. You're looking at millions of children, U.S. children in this country, going hungry every single night. You're looking at parents not taking their kid to the doctor, ending up in the emergency room with, all of these different, diseases that were eradicated, like chickenpox and measles and TB and lice. And a lot of these women crossing are pregnant, and we're, as taxpayers, asked to pay for all of this when the majority of America struggles and continues to struggle paycheck to paycheck to do the right thing and pay their bills rather than living off of the government.
I'll tell you something. When you talk about like measles, I think right now in the horse race, that's number one.
Yeah.
NBC, I got to ask you if you saw this. I didn't even read it on the news today because they didn't want to get totally into it. But NBC got caught. They took a picture of a child who had measles, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 years ago, who knows, but it was, about the worst picture you could see of measles.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it with the new report, all right? And NBC, remember, they're the ones, that took out the Trayvon Martin thing, whatever, and
edit it creatively.
Remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yep.
Editing? Yeah. And as soon as I saw that now they Photoshop, they took an old photo of measles to make their story more shocking, and it should be shocking.
Yeah.
But it's like, how many times do they get away, with editing the news like that? Back to your report, it's kind of interesting. We're talking about all this money, and going back to 2016, Kimberly reports that the State Department spent, and just listen to these figures, $545 million. That was to process and resettle refugees. Now that's 2016. Right now, Kimberly, I think, what are we getting? 3 times more people?
More than that. They were back in 16 bringing in, if they were lucky across the entire border, the numbers were roughly 700. They per day, they weren't racking up these kinds of numbers whatsoever. We don't even know what the end expense is going to be at this point.
And then we got, what is it, 140,000 plus on transportation costs.
Oh, that's $1 million for all of these people to get them. That's 140 million because we bus them or fly them to their destinations. Taxpayers bus them or fly them to their destination where they want to live, with probably, allegedly their illegal alien families that are in this country.
Maybe they say, where do you want to be flown to? And they say, well, which racetrack is open right now? All right, yeah, let me know. Then we got the resettlement cost. And boy, now we're talking billions.
Yeah.
Right?
Billions. You have to think of when someone resettles, and this also take into account that refugees and political asylum seekers are the highest cost to the U.S. taxpayers because the majority of them come in and they don't speak English. They have zero trade skills, so they're stuck with minimum wage jobs. So they will continue their entire life if they are granted asylum in this country. They'll go through the process, but their lives will be, working as minimum wage probably from start to finish because they just don't have the education and the English skills required to do better in life. A handful of them get out and they do better, But for the most part, these refugees are costing taxpayers $10,000 per refugee to live in the United States. Now, their kids will have an opportunity to go to high school and college and that, and they will, make something better of themselves. But these people coming in, they're going to have access to, when they retire, Social Security benefits that they hadn't really put money into. When they file their tax returns, they get the earned income child credit back. So the taxpayers, that's another burden the taxpayers end up just paying and sending back to them in cash. A lot of these people are collecting $3,000, $9,000, $10,000 a year in money from the federal government because they have children and they claim that expense. So there again, if you're an American child, you have access to that same break, but you have to be within a certain, bracket within the taxes to take that deduction. So, I mean, it's just all the way around, you're looking at unfairness. And the people that are hit the hardest, besides the poor, are the working poor. And that would be single moms and single dads that are working every day to try to take care of their kids. And again, they're responsible with their money and they're paying for their, healthcare when they get it. And they have got to be, cringing when they see that these people come here illegally seeking a better life, and they're getting that better life at the expense of these people who are raising their families unable to move to that next tax bracket because they can't. The cost of them paying for their children is prohibitively high, and we know as well that the U.S. we're seeing declining birth rates, and these millennials are saying they can't afford to have kids. So something again needs to be done for people in this country lawfully to have children and have multiple children again. And something's got to kind of slow down, if not stop, this illegal immigration crisis. And, most people in this country say that these people are laughing at Americans, and they are.
Well, in fact, I think a lot of Americans, I don't know what the percentage would be, but they're thinking, you talk about they come here for a better life. And I think some of them, quite a few, are getting the advantage of having a better life than the country that they came to, some of the people in the country they came to, especially when you look at all the homeless on the streets and the veterans and people that are out of a job. But so you also mentioned in this report, latest report, where they'll work and hold jobs, you say 50% of all of them that pay less than $11 an hour. But still, that's taking away a job from an American, so maybe they were going to have to pay $12 or $15 an hour, and now they're once again cheating Americans.
Well, and then also think about this. I mean, if you're making that $11 an hour, and a lot of people are doing that part-time work to make that money, that does not include any benefits whatsoever. So these refugees and migrants are coming here, they're getting $11 an hour. Let's just put that, I'll give them, they're making $15 an hour. Let's just say that we'll be generous. They're making $15 an hour here. They're getting all of the budget from the food stamps, welfare. They're getting the Medi-Cal in California. They're getting health care. They're getting vision care. They're getting all of these expenses paid for by the state and federal government, to which other people who are making that, who are in this country legally and working 2 or 3 jobs, most of them, roughly $11 to $15 an hour, they're unable to move up because they're not getting that extra assistance that these folks are doing. So we're actually holding back native-born and legal immigrants in this country, and we're pushing through people that do not have any skills. We would be better suited if we took $1 billion, and I'm not joking, $1 billion per Central American country, put it down there, have some sort of public-private partnership with the U.S. ties where they could rebuild that country, build some schools, build some hospitals. That would be money better spent, and then they can stay in their countries and make their countries more like an America or a Canada. That would be a better way to spend taxpayers' money.
A lot of people say they're not spending that much on these kids in school and all that stuff. Yes, they are, because no matter what language it is, they have to have the ability to teach those new children.
Yeah, and also one other point on that, we have to remember too that these people are sending a lot of money back to their home countries once they come here. So that's more money taken out of our economy.
Yeah, I had a guest on last week, I think it was, or the week before, talking about, trying to bring up again where we could tax that.
Yeah.
How much money we can make. It would build a wall, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful, Kimberly, because a moment ago, I was thinking, boy, the thought police, sometimes known as the political police, they may come and get you because you used the word food stamps instead of the SNAP program. See, that was embarrassing then.
Yeah.
Because used to it was, you take out the stamps and everything. So now with the SNAP program, you got a little credit card. It looks like, Costco, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and these are just a few of the programs that these people have access to. So, I just, when you look at the totality of it, and when you say, okay, 1.8 billion for this state per year, that's not too much. Well, look at